Oh, we don't get a theme song today. We don't get our theme song today. I guess we're really trying to keep the show tight. How's it going, gentlemen?
Very well.
Pretty good.
Welcome to Marvel Monday. Thanks for everybody for joining us. A couple of reminders. If you are watching us on Facebook, there is a link in the comments for StreamYard to allow them to see your comments. We'll hope that works. That was having some challenges on some previous shows. But Mark, do you know if that's been fixed yet?
I think it's still a work in progress. We've been having some issues with StreamYard. I've been seeing that with permissions. So if you're having problems engaging over on Facebook, again, you can check us out, youtube.com/thisdizlife. We're streaming over on Facebook or on YouTube. You can see Katie's over there already. Dwayne's over on YouTube. Some people have just given up completely on the StreamYard permissions in Facebook. So if you want, head over to YouTube, but smash that share button for us. Get some people here. They need to be here for the finale episode of WandaVision tonight.
We've got our resident rookie in the MCU over here, looking bright in his yellow Spirit jersey. How you doing, Wolf? The Wolf of Main Street. Ethan, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm excited to be here with everybody. It's nice to see some smiling faces, and just be able to talk about this grand finale of WandaVision. I'm happy to be here, everybody.
My co-host from United We Fan, Markie Mark. How you doing, Mark?
What up, guys? Can't wait for this. Can't wait to see everyone who says the finale was anticlimactic.
You're just excited it's over because that means we're just 1 week closer to Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I know how you roll.
I so am.
The earphones, if nothing else, will give us the clues there. And fresh off of Quarantunes, new wardrobe change, everything. We've got Piano Rob himself. Thanks for joining us, Rob. Great to see you.
It's awesome. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, yeah, it is magical.
Oh,
so, hi, Sam. Hi, everybody.
Nice to see you too.
I did get to join Sam and her group over last night talking a little bit of this show, and I saved some of the goods. Don't worry, guys. I am very, very excited to talk about this show. I love this show. So let's get right down into it. So very first thing, we're going to start with our overall impressions of the episode. We know that some people were underwhelmed, and it is what it is. Markie Mark predicted that last week, so we're gonna start right there. He is 4 steps high on his soapbox. Markie Mark, what were your overall impressions of the finale episode specifically? Maybe not just the series overall, but just the finale episode.
I think the finale fit in with the overall flow of the show. You can tell they tried to maybe go a little extra big, it being a Marvel show with the battles, but I like that they didn't go huge Infinity War Endgame epic battles. It wasn't a neighborhood. They didn't want to destroy the neighborhood. I will admit some of the wrap-ups were a little easy, but nothing irritated me. I didn't eye roll anything. I didn't go, oh my God, can we have done that better? I think the show told an overall story complete, and it's a great setup for Doctor Strange. So I think it was a solid ending.
Piano Rob, how about you? What'd you think?
I loved it. I loved everything start to finish. I think that it did exactly what it's supposed to do, and that set up the next things that are coming. And I think that people who don't like it now are going to look back on it in 2-3 years and go, yeah, that was exactly what it was supposed to be.
Right?
Yep. Ethan, how about you? You're not used to these individual films, especially as they come out.
Yeah, but I think one thing that I learned in watching the movies was that the smaller details play into the larger picture. So I enjoyed it from that aspect. I will say that this is probably the first episode that my wife was like, nope, didn't care for it, didn't like it.
Jen.
But looking at it from her standpoint, there was a lot more action. There was a lot more. It felt more like a superhero movie more than any of the others. It didn't necessarily have the same amount of storytelling as the others. In her mind, I thought that it still told a very good story. I thought that for the most part, it wrapped up well. I certainly, just in being a part of the show and being, part of the spectator side of it, I think that there were things that I was hoping for, but I did definitely enjoy it for what it was, and I think I tried to do that from the get-go. So yeah, no, it was fun.
It's good to see you, Jen. It's
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. I do want to say that if you were one of the ones complaining about this being a different kind of show, then you also don't get to be the one that complains when it was typical MCU wrap up. You don't get to have it both ways. That's just not how this works. Mark, how about you? What did you think of it?
So overall I really enjoyed it. The action sequences didn't fall flat. Again, you can see they put a lot of money into the production quality of this. It felt very much like a Marvel movie. They didn't pull any punches with the special effects. But again, this series for me has been all about the little moments and the little bits of dialogue that just really stand out. And we'll get into this in great detail. The dialogue that was between White Vision or Vision and the Vision was just it was like such a masterful moment between those two characters. And it was cool to see, like, Paul Bettany trolled us all saying he wanted to share the screen with someone he's always wanted to work with. It was himself. But it did not disappoint.
He said he shared powerful scenes, and he was not wrong.
But Bryan and I talked about this a little bit too off air, that I think for people that were disappointed with the finale, the only ones that we have to blame are ourselves, in that we set up that finale to do something that it was never intended to do. And I'm the biggest offender of that too, that I gave up on my expectations like 3 weeks ago. And then Ethan and I said, we're just going to enjoy the episodes from then on forward. And when I started to do that, I truly started to enjoy the show a lot more, because I stopped putting my own projections of what I wanted the show to be. And I just allowed it to be what it was.
Right. I was, Bryan and I, when we did our upcoming episode of United with Fan, I was telling him how I went back and rewatched Mandalorian season 2, that I rushed just so people wouldn't spoil anything. And then I rewatched it and I enjoyed it so much more. There was no pressure, no time. I enjoyed it a lot more. Maybe not so much the ice spiders, but I know when I go back and watch WandaVision, like before Doctor Strange, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more because there's no loud noises coming anywhere.
I genuinely don't think it's possible for me to enjoy it any more than I did the first time around. I love this show so much. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with our very first guest host here. Rob, Wanda's hands were turning black. Just that entire opening scene where we got it answered right away as to why Agatha got Wanda out of the house, because she needed her to use her magic. So her hands started turning black. Why were they turning black? What did you think of this opening episode?
I just figured that was symbolic of her losing powers. So the same way when Dumbledore touched the ring and his hand turned black. That's the type of thing they do. That's what they were trying to show, that she was taking her powers. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it was literally killing her, right?
Yeah.
Ethan, what about you in this opening scene? Anything that stood out to you here?
No, I think I took it from the episode prior, where we got to see Agatha lose and her covenant just start to lose the power as well. I mean, they all started to just shrink away to nothing. So I just saw that as the same thing happening to Wanda. Like, she's of the same descent is the first thing that I thought, and then obviously she's losing some of that power.
I really, really enjoyed when Wanda learned that, hey, I maybe shouldn't shoot magic out of my hands, and I will throw a Buick at her. And we got a really cool Wizard of Oz homage there with the boots underneath the car. Yep. Dislife Mark, what did you think of this opening scene?
I was just gonna say I like the little touches of witches and witchcraft across cinema. I got the feel of Dumbledore with the hand turning black. You just mentioned the Wizard of Oz reference, which was really clever. I liked those little things. It didn't stand out to me, other than I thought it was really cool and dramatic when she, for the very first time, we've never really seen Wanda at a loss for power like that. So it put her in a really different vantage point. She's always had to fight from a very different position. This was the first time she really then had to get creative with her strategy more so than ever, because she couldn't just power her way through it. She had to get creative. And again, we'll talk about all this with casting the runes. She knew she couldn't just she couldn't just use her unlimited power to overcome Agatha. And even when she thought, maybe I'll go into this dream realm and I'll send her back to Salem, nothing was working. So it was cool.
My mind immediately went back to Civil War when she threw the car at Agatha. She was pulling the cars out of the. Go ahead, Markie Mark.
Rob, I'm so happy you brought it up. I didn't want to be the Potter kid to bring up. That was my first thought with her hands. I was like, oh, Dumbledore. Yeah. So, and then the Wizard of Oz moment, when I saw it, I was like, I geeked out a little bit at that. And then, I mean, probably the third witch reference was Wanda was defying gravity when she threw the car.
Good one.
Oh, I know. Bryan,
At least Ethan enjoyed it.
I know I won't be popular after that joke.
Oh my god!
Very good.
So anyways, I think it was great.
Oh, good. Sebastian's here. I mean that genuinely. I wanted to know if he enjoyed it.
I think it was great for Wanda to kind of get a reality check that she still has a lot to learn, and Agatha, I think, at some point will pop up. She will be needed to mentor her. Maybe not mentor her, but I kind of see her as like a Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling. At some point, she's going to come back to her and be like, hey, I need help with something. So I'm excited to see. We're not done with Agatha. I know that. We're not done with Agatha.
Nope. And I'm super, super excited about that. So she throws the car at her, and one other Wizard of Oz reference that we didn't talk about last week. We did talk about her mother, but her name was Evanora Harkness. I think it was Evanora, who is the name of the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. I thought it was Elphaba or something like that. I don't know. I've seen Wicked once, and I was like 13. But anyway, there was a Wizard of Oz call out there too. So she throws the car at her, and then moving on to the next question, please, James. Right in the reflection of the window, she sees white vision, and it completely takes her out of it. It's like somebody said Bucky to Steve Rogers. It completely took her out of the entire thing. So to answer the question and I got this question a couple of times, is how did White Vision know Wanda? White Vision was prepped for his mission. He had certain data, certain memories in his mind that he could recognize her. That's the simple, basic answer to that question. But just overall, White Vision. Ethan, what were your thoughts on White Vision?
Interesting, like perplexed character. He came off as definitely a lot more cold, a lot more ruthless. Obviously, I mean, he kind of knew to almost treat her kindly at first, and then as soon as he touched her face and really got a hold of her, he was ready to tear her whole head off. So it was really interesting to sort of see how he knew like how to approach the situation, and then his whole prerogative changed within a snap. It was very interesting. The other thing that I really found sort of interesting too here was White Vision just kind of appeared. He didn't even necessarily like there was no sense of him coming. Like I don't know. I felt like Wanda had a better perspective of when the other Vision was around as opposed to this one. That to me was interesting as well.
For me, I think that she had no connection to this Vision anymore. He was full-blown sword, and he had the phase ability, which, I mean, I would have loved to have seen how he got into the hex. I'm willing to overlook it, but I just think he phased through the barrier. Dislife Mark, what did you think of White Vision and kind of his first appearance?
So I thought he was terrifying. Mm-hmm. Like just the way that even his eyes, I thought he was a terrifying character. The one thing I do want to give credit to is thank you, Internet, for confusing us and confounding us all thinking that it was going to be James Spader's voice, because he had been given a credit on the Internet and there was no voice acting credit. There was nothing for him. So I feel like we got trolled from that aspect. I didn't think it was going to be Paul Bettany's voice. I thought it was going to be James Spader, and we didn't get that, but he was still terrifying.
I think it meant more coming from Bettany personally.
I did too.
I think I just saw a comment from Sebastian of why did he hesitate? I don't think he did. I think he waited for her to get there. And I mean, she's strong enough that she resisted it, but he taunted her as well. And I think that was a lot of Hayward of just taunting Wanda. I was told you were going to be powerful. Rob, what'd you think of White Vision?
I loved White Vision. I'm more versed in a lot of the old cartoons too, so I've seen other versions of Vision, and I think that's what's to take away from it. He's a synthezoid, so there's part of him that's not even close to being human. Many parts of him, so he can be controlled. He can be programmed, but he also has those other pieces of Banner and Stark and other things in there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with him now in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Shuri as well. She might have been able to get in there a little bit and add another layer to it. Mark, Markie Mark, you got any thoughts on White Vision?
I mean, I think one reason why Wanda didn't sense him at all, what connected her to that vision was the Mind Stone.
Right.
And then the new White Vision, he doesn't have that. So he's free of it. So he gets to grow more. He's not limited by that anymore. So I'm excited to see where he goes from there. Shout out to Walmart for that amazing Funko of him. Like
the glow in the dark one. Yeah.
Glow in the dark one. And then I definitely think it was a Bucky moment for her. I loved that comparison to it. Like her seeing him, she didn't even question anything. Just like Steve didn't question anything when he saw Bucky. He was just like, Bucky, like, I'm not going to question why you have eyeliner on and this whole getup. I'm just going to go with it. It's Bucky. And to see Vision and him have that intellectual, just, we're going to stop fighting, and have that intellectual moment, that Martha moment of, wait, what did you say by that? And just stop fighting after that. I think it was just a great moment. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of going, why did White Vision just disappear? Be patient. We're not done with White Vision. He's going to come back at some point. So, yeah, I loved everything about White Vision. I thought he looked pretty cool. Was it maybe a little fast that he started off as the Terminator and then he learned to love? Was it a little rush Terminator 2 with him? Maybe, but I'm good if we cut out just a whole bunch of explanation and him learning and just get to his like new storyline.
He quickly binged Avengers: Age of Ultron, Captain America: Civil War, and Avengers: Infinity War really quickly.
Yeah,
he learned a lot there.
And to address Frankie Rose's question, where he said, "Does this mean that Paul Bettany is still part of the MCU?" Yes, Frankie, he is. He sat down with Esquire magazine and talked about his upcoming role in the MCU and said he's in. So given the
event,
doesn't
sound like he knows when that is yet. Either, so we don't know, but
he said he's definitely in.
Yep.
So as far as Paul is concerned, he's prepped to like give this character more life. There's no reason to believe that there's not going to be more Vision in the future of the MCU.
I like white chocolate. I'm good with that. All right, let's move on to the next question. We're going to start with Markie Mark. I've gone to him last twice in a row. It's a simple question, Mark. Why does Hayward suck so much?
Bryan, was it because of my Broadway references? Be honest.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
You told me to be honest. I mean,
that's true. I mean, if you just can't understand the music of the night with the words I sing, and
Rob, why does Hayward suck so much? Well, go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, do it.
I know. I'm so sorry, Bryan, but the people. Can you hear the people sing, Bryan?
Can you hear the
I can't
people
send it
sing?
to anybody else on United We Fan.
Why does Hayward suck? He's another bureaucratic butthole, I think is the mature description of him. And was his ending, it was anticlimactic only if you overhyped who his character was. I admit I was guilty. I thought he was going to end up being one of the Skrulls, maybe one of the secret evil ones leading up to Secret Invasion. And he ended up being nothing, which I was like, good. I'm glad he was nothing. He was just another guy who got in over his head. But I still love that we got that backstory scene where what actually happened when he showed Wanda Vision's body and all that. That was pretty great to see. Was, his ending, it was like, oh, I'm I got hit by a car. That was everybody watching this show driving that car. So thank you, Darcy. And
Have fun in prison.
I know I am kind of like, maybe why didn't he get out of the car? Okay, he was just hit pretty hard by another vehicle. Maybe, he's concussed. So, but yeah, Hayward, I think his storyline is done. Maybe he'll get like a quick reference later down the road if anyone brings up Sword and its mistakes. But, Hayward, we love to hate you. You're not Joffrey level hatred, but, hey, that's a good thing.
Nobody is.
And you can't rule out Scroll 100% yet. And that's what I wanted to say in our last thing as well is you've got to let it play out. I had this realization over the weekend. This isn't the first time I've said it, but imagine getting upset in Iron Man 2 when he uses Captain America's shield to prop up his equipment and you get upset that Captain America didn't show up in Iron Man 2. That's not what the MCU does. They're laying the groundwork. We just have to let it play out. We've still got Happy Hogan in Spider-Man Homecoming talking about Thor's magic belt. That still hasn't made an appearance yet. And I really, really hope it does. Rob, what are your thoughts on acting director tool bag?
There's a certain amount of this that is always going to be formulamatic. And one of those things is going to be that you have to have a bad human agent in some government organization. That's been a consistent thing in Marvel Comics. Yep. And it's going to continue to be a consistent thing. Some of them are going to die out. Some of them, some crazy things are going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in any of these phases. I'm waiting for like a Red Hulk or something from one of these guys that are going to, test something wrong. But I think it's that simple. Somebody has to move the plot along. If he doesn't have that role, we don't have a show. That's the whole show is based on that. If he gave WandaVision's body, show over. You know what I mean? It doesn't exist.
Yep. I'm theorizing Red Hulk in Black Widow with Thunderbolt Ross. Mark, from This Is Life. What this entire Hayward scene? We get Jimmy Woo show up. Jimmy Woo bluffs a little bit, gets himself out of it, flourish, and he just. This entire scene, just Hayward. He loves his Vision puns too.
He was very unlikable. I don't think anyone ever really thought he was much of a threat. He sucked. He really just sucked in this show. I wish they had done. Honestly, I wish that they had done a little bit more with him and made him a little bit more menacing, because he has like the Army Hammer kind of potential to wreak some true havoc in the MCU. I'm hoping that they keep him around for
Justin
something.
Hammer or Army? Did you mean Army Hammer? Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer. Thank you.
Okay. I'm thinking. Okay.
Sorry.
No, Justin Hammer. Thank you.
Ethan, what about you? Yeah. Oh, were you done, Mark?
I was just gonna say, I hope they keep him around because he is so unlikable. He's a perfect villain.
Yeah, I love Justin Hammer. So they're opposite ends of the spectrum for me. I haven't come around on Hayward just quite yet.
Dance moves, Bryan.
I love Justin Hammer so much. Ethan, what about you?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm enjoying the most about this conversation is it sort of proves to me how good the actor is because we hate him so much.
And that's what Frankie just said in the comments.
Yeah, I think that the fact that we are talking about him, that we are having this type of conversation just says, and it almost screams at this point, this guy's a great actor. And while I think that he has so much more potential, like I think there's still a lot of stuff they could have done with him. I think there's even more things that they can do with him. I find it awesome that we're talking about the fact that this actor led most of the fans to say, God, this guy is such an asshole. Like, let's figure out a way to hate him even more. And that's a testament to the writing, which I know we've talked about. And more importantly, it's a testament to the acting of this character, because I think for the most part, whenever you look at great villains in history, whether that's Joffrey from Game of Thrones or Ramsay, like you hated the character so much, but at the end of the day, you had to find the ability to like appreciate the actor. And that to me is what's really incredible about this conversation.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to the next one. We're going to start with Diz Life. Mark, Darkhold, what is it?
All right, so we've talked about this in weeks past. We see it come up again. So the Darkhold is a book that was created by Chthon. We did not get Chthon. Bryan Ferguson and I were wrong. Bryan was correct from United We Fan in saying that we were not going to get Chthon in the series. I hedged my bet. I was completely wrong. I also, by the way, want to point out that I lost the Professor X bet, so you win the $10, Bryan.
My phone feels like digitally just $10 heavier. It's awesome.
So the Darkhold was originally written in flesh. It was transcribed, in flesh. It's kind of like the Necronomicron from Evil Dead. That it originates from the dark dimension. There's all kinds of spells that come from the dark dimension. It was a part of the library. In Doctor Strange library, the book is notoriously what a lot of people have speculated is missing from the library. That's the missing book, but it contains scrolls that Chthon, this evil being, uses his power through this book in order to manipulate the various dimensions. It gives him power on Earth. So this book is going to be instrumental in potentially bringing him about. I'm still going to stick with the thought that he's going to come in the Doctor Strange movie, especially when Agatha kind of hints that she's messing, she doesn't know what she's done. You have no idea what you've done. That this book is a portal to much darker and more evil things. It made an appearance in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is why we were surprised that it got repurposed. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not in the MCU. It's not canon. So it looks like Kevin Feige has hit the reset button on the Darkhold and is bringing it into the MCU, and it's going to play a prominent role in Wanda's development and her education or miseducation. We'll get to that later on. And it's going to create some problems for the people of Earth and for this timeline.
So it is said to contain infinite knowledge, including that full chapter on the Scarlet Witch. And we're going to talk a whole lot more about the Darkhold later on. Thank you very much for that, Mark. Does anybody have any thoughts on the Darkhold right now before we'll talk about the post-credit scene later on? All right, we'll move on to the next question. We're going to start with Piano Rob again. Rob, are you a fan of Steven Seagal?
He's from Staten Island, like me.
Wow. That's a yes.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
Honestly, growing up, I was a fan of Steven Seagal. I probably haven't seen a Steven Seagal film in 20 years, but when he made that reference, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and the Steven Seagal question is to lead us down. And I saw a comment earlier from Sean over at Walt's Apartment. I joined them last night. Thanks for the comment, Sean. We appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me on last night. But we're going to talk about Ralph Boner. Gentlemen, Ralph is real. He exists. We got a boner joke in the MCU, and I think it is hilarious. James from Mouse Ears and Magic thought that this scene was not cool. So James, throw it in the comments as to what you didn't like about it. I said Ralph wasn't real. I was wrong. I do think, as funny as the boner joke was, I think it was a callback to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon. It takes place in its own separate timeline. It was not produced by Marvel Studios. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I think the boner joke was almost a call out to Matt Shackman's time on Growing Pains. He was an actor as a kid, the director of this show, and we had boner in that show. But it was so dang funny. Ethan, were you disappointed in Pietro being Ralph Boner?
No, not.
I should probably just call him Ralph, shouldn't I?
Not necessarily.
No,
I think the only thing I thought was really interesting about this, the scene itself was interesting, but I thought it was interesting that the bunny was also named Ralph, and we sort of theorized for a while that the bunny.
No, it wasn't. Bunny was Senior Scratchy.
Senior Scratchy.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the bunny was also Ralph. Why did I think that?
She always said my husband Ralph.
Oh, my husband Ralph. There you go. That's what I was thinking of. All right, then I'm off in the bunny somewhere. I thought the bunny.
Well, so there's a rumor that's going around that there was a bunny was like a giant demon that was going to fight. It was like a deleted scene. I think that Matt Shackman's just trolling people at this point. He was telling that to Kevin Smith, so I mean, Kevin Smith would definitely take that and run with it. But Senior Scratchy, simply an Easter egg to her son Nicholas Scratch.
Okay.
And yeah, but no, I mean, Ralph, again, I didn't think Ralph was real. Markie Mark, Ralph, what'd you think of him?
Let's see, Ralph Boner. I'm going to erect a conversation.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not going to make a hard point of it, but what I will say is that.
Would you stop it? My children are right there.
They're so cute. I'm glad they take after their mother. So no, but I love that Marvel spent $1 billion to have that joke kind of set up, to have him as a Quicksilver. What is he? Is he Quicksilver from Fox or not? And I'm glad he ended up being nobody. I'm glad it ended up being nothing. It was just fun. I think it would have opened too many problematic doors if they would have had him be Quicksilver from Fox. I think too many people would have been like, how are they going to bring it in? How are they going to do all this? And I'm glad it ended up being nothing. And I know some people were like, oh, he was possessed by a necklace. Yeah, it's a magical object. I'm cool with that.
We live in a 6 mile wide hexagon. Like, come on, people.
So, I mean, was I hoping to see a little bit more of him because he's such a talented actor and like things like American Horror Story and all that? Yes, I was hoping to, but you know, Boner was a fun character. I think a lot of people are going to definitely cosplay him. He didn't blow his shot with this role.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right. So there was a couple of comments a little bit ago. So Sebastian said that this scene could have been cut. I would have been livid if this scene was cut. I needed to know the answer of who Evan Peters' character was. It had to happen. And Bryan said he could be the witness, but there's that scene when Darcy and Monica and Wu are sneaking around the sword base, and they say, "Who's that?" And she says, "That's Monica or Wanda's brother." And Darcy says, "Yeah, but he brought the wrong face." So I think he would have. Oh my goodness! I think he would have. I think he would have said something about. And the witness, we just don't have our answer. That's the one answer we didn't get. I'm okay with it. Anybody overly upset about not finding out who James Woo's witness was?
I mean, do you think we will? I still think
maybe, I don't, honestly.
I don't.
You don't. Maybe not Ant-Man 3. No. Okay.
We could. We could. I mean, it doesn't seem like the same level of payoff as definitely White Vision or something like that. I mean, we could find out later on. Yeah, he never mentions it again. Yeah. He mentions it at the very first scene, and then again at the board, he said this started as a missing persons case, and then it turned into much more. So I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. I think we got everybody's thoughts on Ralph, right?
I'll give you one more for me. This is the thing that I think is most important about this is it was Marvel's way of telling you, we don't care what you think. We don't care what you read in the comics. You can guess all you want,
right?
But we're gonna take this in whatever direction we want to go. Yeah. And the missing person case could be nothing. You had that one woman when she got when Agatha was taking the spells off them. She's like, my husband's on a business trip. Tell him not to come home. The missing person thing could be anybody. I don't think it's that big a deal. All these people had family members outside the hex that had no idea what happened to them.
Yeah.
So are we entering a new phase in the Marvel storytelling where they have reached that level where they can bring something up and it could be shortchanged, I guess, and they're okay with it. They know we're going to go with it no matter what. They don't have to explain everything. Do you think they've gotten to that point where we're going to see more of those little, like, oh, there's a big witness?
I just think we notice it more. I think they've been pulling stuff like this all along. And if the entire presence of this witness is, if it's, you don't give me a person missing, therefore we never get Jimmy Woo in the FBI, I would much rather take Give Me Jimmy Woo all day long. I don't have to know who the missing person is if that's not part of the story.
Is anybody else hoping Jimmy Woo becomes the new director of Sword?
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
We're gonna get to that. Yeah.
To jump from FBI agent
Okay.
all the way to Sword director is a little high, but
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the last of Jimmy Woo. All right, moving on. So Photon, she flips Ralph over. She uses her powers. Eyes go purple. She finds that magic necklace around. That's what gave him Quicksilver's powers. The reason Evan Peters was cast is because Marvel knows exactly what they're doing. They knew what was going to happen, and they just needed you to believe that it was simply possible. That's all that they needed to do. Evan Peters is never going to be Quicksilver again. So for him to go and find other work, I'm fine by him. I'm fine with the trolling. I'm fine with it. But Photon, we talk about how sucky Hayward is. We get the line of, boys, you handle the military. Mommy will be right back. That line was incredible. We get the boys take him down. Hayward doesn't like it, and he pulls a gun on 2 10-year-olds. And Monica steps in, and she channels that energy, and the bullets go right through her. We even see we even see Billy stop that bullet with his blue magic. I thought that was interesting. I mean, I know he's not a Scarlet Witch, but still, it just in his flick of the wrist, and for her to say nice tricks, and them to say you too. Monica is a genuinely good person that just does the right thing, and she feels that attachment to those boys because she feels that attachment to Wanda. I don't think we should question Monica and why she stepped in the middle. She's a hero. Yeah. She's a wonderful hero, and she's got the best origin story we've seen since Tony Stark.
I agree. Yep. Yeah, I mean, like that moment where she steps in front of the bullets to save the kids was like that was awe-inspiring. And then the shock is that the bullets, we know that they're not going to have an effect, but like that moment to me was like, wow, she really is a hero. She's probably one of the best characters that we've ever seen. At that moment, she's giving her life up for those 2 kids. And she was the best surprise from this series for me, that I did not think I was going to like the introduction of Photon as much as I did. But the takeaway from this series, more so than just all the other stuff I enjoyed, I enjoy her character. I have loved this as her origin story. I got giddy and I darn near gleeful at the end when she gets the glint in her eye talking about the meeting that's coming up. I'm very excited for her in Captain Marvel 2, and I'm really excited. I'm hoping that she gets her own film. I hope that she doesn't become a secondary character in some of these other narratives. I'm hoping to see her develop her own story moving forward.
I really just don't enjoy you sometimes. Not you, Dislife, Mark. I'm talking about my co-host.
Oh, I know.
All right. Frankie just pointed out our first woman of color superhero. So that's really cool.
Wait, what about Gamora?
She's green. I'm with you. I think Gamora would count, but from a representation standpoint, actually on screen for kids to see,
right?
That'll mean something. Rob, how about you?
And that's what they do so well, is that they take characters that you don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, they make you care about them. So now instead of wasting time in another movie explaining how Monica got her powers or why White Vision exists, they've done all that for you now. You have 5-ish hours of content to go watch, and you have all that stuff. So now when we go into these big movies that are coming up, boom, we're in the movie. That's what they do so well.
Yep. Ethan, what about Photon? Did you like her?
I mean, she didn't wow me.
All right.
Thankfully, I'm sorry, she didn't.
How do you not get emotional when she steps in front of the bullets for those kids?
Because he's one that thinks that the bullets were just going to go between the boys, and Hayward was just trying to scare him.
Yeah, Hayward was an awful shot first and foremost. But the other thing was, like, I kind of had faith that the boys were going to figure it out. Yeah. I mean, one of them was quick, one of them could control stuff, and it almost surprised me even more that Wanda, when in the beginning, when Wanda and Agnes were kind of squaring up and White Vision showed up, that she didn't have the boys help out then. I just was a little surprised that sometimes she was very maternal and threw stuff, threw the boys out of the mix. And then there were also times that she needed the boys and wanted them to be there and be a part of it all. So for me, this was she just didn't wow me. I just wasn't all that impressed by her. I'm not even necessarily that excited about Captain Marvel 2 because I just wasn't wowed by Captain Marvel. I'm sorry.
Captain Marvel's in my bottom 5 of MCU films, so I can understand where you're coming from there. I think that movie has several flaws. I also think that movie is very, very important.
That's the key. They're all it's necessary.
Bottom
Yep.
5.
Bottom 5.
Tease next week.
More to come on that next week.
Yeah.
Marvel Monday. You think ahead. Next week, Marvel Monday. Just because WandaVision's over and Falcon Winter Soldier hasn't started yet, we are doing Marvel Monday next week. Now, programming potential announcement. My work schedule is changing, so Marvel Monday might be revisited, and it might be Marvel Monday on a different night of the week. We will give you guys as much a heads up as we can, but I know I'm good for next Monday. We're going to do a March Madness Marvel movie bracket. We're going to do all 24 released Marvel Studios projects from Iron Man all the way through WandaVision. It's going to be a fun debate. I'm very, very excited to do that. So
I'm excited for the alliteration that's going to come from that. Marvel March Madness Monday.
Nice. So everybody get prepared to see Captain Marvel on like the 21-22 seed line. It's gonna be low. So Sebastian said he can't get emotional because there's no real threat of harm from Monica or the children. We know the bullets. Well, he didn't know the bullets weren't going to do anything. He also didn't know Monica was going to step in. But once Monica stepped in, Hayward continued to empty that clip.
Yeah.
He wanted Monica dead too.
Well, could Sebastian, if I can for a second too, we've also speculated there was going to be an event that was going to drive maybe Wanda mad. In my mind, in that moment, I thought maybe one of those kids dies in that moment in time, and she loses one, if not both, of her kids in this end fight. So I get what you're saying. You may have thought like, hey, there's no real threat, but in that moment, I thought there was a very strong potential that one or both of those boys were in mortal harm, that they could have died in the battle, and maybe then that's the event that makes Wanda lose it all. That was my line of thinking. So that's why I got really emotional in that moment. I was like, "Oh my gosh, are the kids going to get shot?"
Okay, I'm sorry, Bryan. Markie Mark,
yes.
Go ahead.
I wasn't blown away by the moment. I think it was a cute little tease, I guess we'll call it. The moment happened, I was like, cool. All right. She can do that now. She's still starting to learn her powers. Side note, I really enjoy Captain Marvel, the film, so I will be ready to defend it. Not only did we get a strong female character, but Marvel also showed how strong and helpful cats are, the Flurkin. I mean, good for Marvel for introducing people to just how wonderful cats and women can be in a very heroic moment. Good for Marvel. But anyways,
but it doesn't remove the fact that the movie takes place in 1995 and it has a soundtrack from songs that came after that.
Oh my god, that guy.
We also get the No Doubt needle drop that I'm just a girl, and I find it to be very, very heavy-handed. It has nothing to do with the fact of having a female superhero, but we can talk more about that.
Yeah, we can talk about how you're wrong later. Anyways, it introduces the world to Blockbuster. It also introduced Mallrats to a younger generation with Stan Lee reading that script.
It is a great cameo. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah. So, but anyways, I'm with you. Her stopping the bullets didn't really do anything for me. At no point was I like, oh no, the kids. I don't know. Maybe I just. Oh God, am I heartless? Maybe I just wasn't worried about the kids too much. I knew nothing. You can't kill kids on a Marvel show, I guess. I don't know. So the moment
kind of did. I mean,
well,
they killed the dog, no problem.
Oh, Agatha. Oh God, you did the no. But yeah, I don't know. The moment was a cool tease. I definitely hope for a bigger epic moment for her later. So
Rob's here, Rob's there, Rob is everywhere. All right, let's move on. Go ahead, Rob.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
All right, moving on. All right, so we're gonna go. Rob, which is the true ship of Theseus?
I love this everything, and
Yes.
it is such. And I don't know the answer. It's a true moral dilemma, and I love that they came to terms that their fight ended with words and not with fighting. I think that was a very, very interesting thing to do. I don't know what the true ship is. I have no idea. That's why it's so beautiful.
Markie Mark, you referred to this being the Martha moment, but I require elaboration is much better than why did you say that name? That's my personal opinion, but
I thought you were going to let me get away with that. I was like, man, nobody's going to roast me for that?
Nope. All right, Mark from This Is Life, in as concise as you can, the ship of Theseus debate. What was it about, and why did you love it so much?
Why do I have to get this? That's like a Herculean effort right now. Like I have not had enough. I haven't had enough caffeine to really do. So the ship of Theseus is being renovated. That in order to keep the ship of Theseus in museum quality, that it needs to be renovated over time. Planks, wood, the ship will degenerate, and that's what time, pressure, oxygen. I can't say the word. Will do to the ship. And so the entire debate revolves around, as you renovate the ship, as you replace the boards and the planks of the original ship, while they take the true form and the look of the ship is still preserved, is it still in essence the ship itself? Because what you've done, the boards that once held this man are no longer the true boards. Everything has been refurbished and replaced. So is it even the ship anymore? So that moment where here are two synthezoids discussing that very facet, it's basically the two of them acknowledging the fact of, if all of vision has been removed, replaced, reworked, is it still vision? And I think that's Vision's point is I don't possess any of the circuitry, the bone, the form of the original Vision of at that point then white Vision. I'm not you. Everything has been replaced, refurbished. I've been recreated. Therefore, I can't be Vision because none of the original parts are here, and therefore your protocols and your directives are false. The narrative with which you are operating is a false narrative. You have been sent to destroy the Vision, and I am not the Vision. You are the Vision. So then that led a lot of people to speculate at the end of that scene when White Vision flies off is why then does he leave? Is he going to kill himself when he realizes that he is in fact the one that he's out to destroy?
Nope.
It was a really great water cooler moment, but on a surface level, it was just a really cool scene, and I hope that I did okay with that. And now, like the end of not Happy Gilmore, the end of, guys, I'm blanking on that.
Give me the line and I can tell you.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison. When
now we are all dumber. No. You summed it up. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Vision did not fly off to go kill himself. He was then beyond his protocol.
Yes.
That's what Vision did, is he unlocked data, he unlocked memories, but memories are simply data without emotion. Data is simply memories without emotion to Vision. Vision doesn't have those emotions coming along with everything. This was no longer his fight. That's why he left. We're going to see him again, West Coast Avengers Vision. He's coming back. Sebastian says, I am confused why he couldn't also put memories into White Vision, so White Vision would be a fusion of both. I thought that was the point. Both are the ship of Theseus. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. However, I think to fuse the two, that part of WandaVision, for lack of a better thing of calling him, he can't exist outside the hex. Those memories aren't true, real, tangible memories to Vision. So I think by coming back and by learning everything that he knew up until that point when he was brought back, that's what was most important at that time. And that's why I think he left. He had no emotional connection to the thing, and he just knew that his protocol was wrong. He needed to go think for himself.
Brian, could I steer for a second and just throw this question at you specifically?
Yeah.
What was your thought on that moment then when he transferred his consciousness through where the Mind Stone once resided? You saw it glow that yellow of the Mind Stone. And then the movement, there was a synchronous movement between the two men when Vision moves his head, then White Vision or the Vision similarly moves his head. Were the two beings one in that moment? Did he then implant himself in? What was your take on that?
I didn't take it to that level, and I could very well be wrong for not taking it to that level. That's not a bad way of thinking about it. I saw it as simply the Vision, White Vision, coming into his own and learning basically just who he is at that moment in time, and really mirroring somebody whom he should mirror. I don't see it as a fusion of the two visions. I don't. Okay. And I think if they wanted us to see it, it's not like they didn't show us what memories he was getting back, but every single memory we got was Infinity War or before. If they wanted us to believe it were a fusion of the two, we would have seen Black and White Vision from episode 1, or we would have seen him holding his kids for the first time or something like that. And I think that's what tells us, A, that he's still emotionless, and B, it was not a fusing of the two visions. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. It does go yellow. I don't see anything to that except for every time Vision put his hands on anybody else's head, whether it was Agatha, whether it was Norm, pulling them out of their consciousness, it also went yellow. So I just think Vision's touch results in that yellow power, and I don't think it was the chip itself gaining anything from the Mind Stone.
And wasn't Jarvis was always that same color too, correct?
Jarvis was kind of an orangish yellow, yep.
I think it's the same one.
Yep. Ethan, Ship of Theseus, did you enjoy this? There's many people in the comments saying this was their favorite part, and they're not wrong.
No, this was a pretty phenomenal scene, and again, I'll sort of throw it back to what I was talking about before in the acting. Paul Bettany puts on a phenomenal performance with himself. And I think the thing that really grabs people here is it's a very intelligent conversation. I mean, we're talking about a character who simply understands and knows many, many, many things. So for me, it was, and I don't consider myself a smart guy by any stretch of the imagination, it was a very intelligent conversation.
You are, buddy.
Thanks. Okay. No, but I found it just it's sort of like when you see two very intelligent humans, communicating about something that they're very intrigued by, like two scientists who are talking about the next big discovery, and them having, sort of differing opinions on it and wanting more data. And I sort of found this conversation very intriguing in the fact that these people, these two very like-minded things, were trying to communicate with one another in a way that would make sense to each other. And it really was interesting. I found the battle sequence between the two of them really intriguing as well. I found that, they both had, similar strengths. And I think the thing that really grabbed me as well was the vision that we saw in WandaVision throughout most of it was, sort of able to keep up with the White Vision. And this was all just a creation from Wanda. I thought that was really, really interesting, really cool, the way that they sort of played into that. But the conversation about Theseus and the ship and what it really is, it's very incredible. It's very thought-provoking. It's a great way to sort of think about different things, and it was good. I really enjoyed it, for sure.
I know it's not at this point in the episode that we got this information, but later in the episode when he asks Wanda, "What am I?" and she says, "You're the part of the Mind Stone that I had," and it really made us. We kind of saw Wanda differently after last week, saying, "Well, she was a witch all along. The Mind Stone actually didn't really, quote unquote, do anything except kind of keep her magic around longer, but she absorbed some of that magic and she was able to put that into Vision. And the fact that he was able to use it, like you said, just the power that Wanda holds was really, really good. Markie Mark, what do you think of this debate? Again, it very well could have been longer. I really had Jarvis and Ultron conversations if Ultron would have been any sort of reasonable. It's kind of what it felt like.
I loved this scene. I felt like it could have been something on a Broadway stage, just these two having this philosophical conversation. I think it goes back to a point that Mark and I on our soapboxes last week when a certain director said that Marvel films had no deep levels to them. I think this scene showed right here that it's not about the visual effects. It's not about the explosions. It's not about the costumes. This is a philosophical conversation between two intellectual beings just having a rational conversation. And I think the scene did what it also was meant to do. Get people talking, get people thinking. And I remember I paused it while I was watching it and I just stopped and I said, holy crap, that's like a great question. I feel like that's something you could write a college paper on, that question. And I'm glad the writers said, we're going to go deep with this moment. We're not going to just make it a philosophical or a short little throwaway scene. We're going to go deep with this. And Bryan, I have to argue a little bit. I think for a split second, White Vision and Vision, when they did that little moment there, I think for a split second, they were on the same page. They were linked for a quick second. They're no longer linked. It was just for a split second. So for them, that was probably a long time. But I think it was, I think it's one of my favorite Vision moments. And I think it's just one of the top, man, I don't know if I want to go as big as say top 3 moments of the series, up there with the Avengers compound scene, but it might be a top 3 scene for me.
It's perfectly acted by Paul Bettany 2 times. You're absolutely correct, and you very well could be absolutely correct on that linking. Again, it's not something I'd really thought about much until Mark posed it my way. Moving on to the next question. Why did Wanda take Agatha back to Salem 1693? We got our answer as to why we had that debated scene last week of some people saying it was necessary, some people saying it wasn't necessary. Wanda took Agatha back to Salem 1693. So the reason she took her back there is, I think when we saw Agatha's backstory last week, I think Wanda saw the same thing. I think Wanda was seeing it from Agatha, and she knew to take her back there. Sebastian said, well, you did get after the conversation with Dragon Ball Z. I don't know that one.
Budokai? I don't know.
The conversation could have been longer because it was the best of the show. The show was best at having deep conversations. Absolutely. The show was not made for the action. The show was made for the emotions, and we got some of the best emotions here. Mm-hmm. But so when Wanda takes Agatha back to Salem 1693, I think we're now seeing that Agatha was showing Wanda exactly who she was, and Wanda saw it, and Wanda wanted to take her back there, and it didn't go exactly how Wanda had planned. I think she thought she was gonna kind of play the morals card on Agatha a little bit, saying the difference between you and me is you did this for fun, or you did this on purpose. I didn't know what I was doing. And we saw earlier of Agatha said, they're just your meat puppets. I just simply cut the strings. And Wanda had recited to herself then that the hex was going to come down, but she hadn't defeated everybody yet. She had to close it back up, save her boys, save Vision. But I think this scene talks to the power of Agatha specifically, because Agatha is able to take Wanda's mind trick and turn it on Wanda, even when she's not supposed to be able to do that. I mean, we've seen Wanda do that that's what caused the entire fight between Hulk and Veronica Hulkbuster in Avengers Age of Ultron, was a mind trick on the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Let's start with Piano Rob. What did you think of this particular scene back in Salem?
I think it was I just think it was exactly what it was supposed to be. All these things are done to give you that reason. So why not take Agatha back to the one scene that they showed him, and just I think she was just I think she thought that would make her distraught, like showing her past. Like the whole series was about showing in those commercials all of Wanda's past trauma. I think she thought bringing Agatha back there would do something similar with her, but it didn't matter. I mean, all of this though, I know we're going to get there, was all leading up to the whole runes comment. I mean, that's all I think it was at the end of the day.
Just like Mark, what do you think?
So, I mean, and Patrick just kind of said this. He enjoyed the callback to the possessions from the Age of Ultron. Like, I enjoy the one thing I really came to appreciate about this show as well was the fact that it really enhanced the Age of Ultron movie for me, which prior to WandaVision was not one of my favorite films in the MCU.
Mark, they can't all be number one, man.
Look,
I know, but this show.
Don't you come at me, Brian, until next week.
But
I will even defend Thor: The Dark World.
This show made me really appreciate, I think, Age of Ultron more so as an origin story for Wanda than I had when I watched. And I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. I probably only watched Age of Ultron twice prior to this. I know, because I did not enjoy it. I just did not think that it was a very good movie. And then because since this show has come out, I've now watched it 3 times since this show has come out because I love and appreciate it so much more. So seeing that that callback to that movie again was just another really great connection between those two films, but also hearkening back to her origin story when we first see her as as just this powerful being who's manipulating the other Avengers, making them see their fears, making them see their worst possible scenarios. And I think that you just hit the nail on the head. That's what she had intended to do. And it didn't work as planned. Like Agatha was in a lot more control than any of those other beings were. She owned that nightmare.
What I found interesting was that the Coven turned. Obviously, there's a legend of the Scarlet Witch, and not all of them have read the Darkhold. But for all of them to be able to recognize her so easily was very interesting, and that very well could have been a Jedi mind trick coming from Agatha. Yeah. But Markie Mark, what about Salem? Did you? Because I if I remember correctly, no, you did like the Salem scene last week.
I did. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was necessary to show just how power hungry she was. I think it was my question about last week was I didn't understand why it was such a big question of why, if it was her Coven mom or real mom, and I was like, oh, it's her real mom. Anyways, I thought she brought her back to Salem. I thought it was to take her back there, hoping to see if, maybe it would weaken her, rock the boat, putting her back in that dramatic moment. And it didn't. Agatha, it wasn't fazed by it at all. Whatever Wanda had planned for it, kind of throwing her off guard, it didn't work at all. And
we still got her acting as well. She acted like she was afraid to be back there, and we know Agatha can put on a show. Yep,
she can, so much that she will hopefully be nominated for an Emmy. But anyways, I thought the scene was great. It definitely played scene-wise with the witches then turning on Wanda. I think it was another great reality check for her that this is not going to be an easy battle. She's going to have to earn this, just because at one point she was the most powerful Avenger and she took on Thanos. I think she still has a lot to learn. So
Sebastian thinks it could have been cut, that assuming Wanda pulled magic knowledge from Agatha's mind, like how to use the runes, she fully learns in this particular scene what Agatha wants. She's giving Agatha one last out to kind of show remorse, and Agatha simply says, "Just give me your power." Could that have been done differently? Maybe, yeah. Like Sebastian, I can at least see where you're coming from. I personally enjoyed Salem both times we went there. It's downright creepy when all the witches start coming back to life and then turn their faces on Wanda. Ethan, what about Salem for you? Did you go to Salem in the last week? since we saw it last time?
No, but what I will say is I did enjoy, once again, this particular scene. I think it sort of sets the tone because I think for someone who didn't know who Agatha Harkness was or how she came to be or where she was really originated from, this was a great opportunity as just the casual fan to sort of get to know her. So I do think that it was necessary last week, and I'll agree again that I think it was necessary this week because Wanda had this ability to bring people into a part of their mind that just didn't necessarily they didn't even necessarily think was still there, I think. So I think that it was necessary to bring Agatha and Wanda into this section, and I think it not only that, but it proved just how powerful the person that we're dealing with is in Agnes. And I think on top of all that, it also showed that Wanda really did try to say, like, we can do this one way or we can do it another way. How do you want this to be? Because I'm ready to go all in and fight it up, which is what this is all leading to. So I thought it was necessary. I enjoyed it, and yeah, hour up north, and you're in Salem, Massachusetts, which is pretty cool.
I just had a realization while we were talking, thinking specifically about Age of Ultron and the mind tricks that Wanda can play. Even the mind trick she played on Tony Stark, she didn't really know, but she just has that power to kind of bring out your deepest, darkest fear.
Yeah.
So Agatha didn't even turn that mind trick on her in the middle of it. She turned it before it even happened. I think Agatha's the one that put him in Salem. So maybe Monica didn't actually see, or Wanda didn't actually see it. I just kind of had that realization, and it doesn't change the scene for me, but it's just interesting. Moving on to the next question. We're going to start with you, Ethan, if you're okay with that.
Let's go.
I don't need you to tell me who I am. That's what Wanda says to Agatha while they're floating in the sky. Wanda has already shot all of her magic, either A, against the walls to create runes, or to let Agatha think she's got all of Wanda's power, but she's looking old, nasty, decrepit. Yeah. We then see the visuals of the runes were really, really incredible. But Wanda summons that magic back from Agatha, and she says, "I don't need you to tell me who I am." How did that hit you?
Oh, it was a level of badassery that I couldn't wait to see from Wanda. I do want to take just a moment because I do try to appreciate things from a very visual aspect, and the scenery and the lightning and the clouds and sort of the ambiance that was set by this fight scene was truly beautiful. If in case you don't know, I'm colorblind, so I always love getting color perspectives from people who understand them and can see them, and I like hearing about those things. So to understand how like prominent the reds were and the blues and the purples that were sort of in there as well was really neat. I really, really enjoyed, and I kind of just already hit on it, but Wanda just saying, yeah, I don't need you to tell me who I am. I know who I am, and she's a badass, and I really, really enjoy. It sort of felt like the ultimate character arc in her own right for this show, of her saying, yeah, I know who I am. Like, don't count me out because I know who I am, which I thought was really cool. Great writing.
Laying the groundwork. Agatha says you don't have any idea what you just did. We'll see where that leads. Markie Mark, what do you think?
So I had a Deadpool moment when Agatha told her in the basement about the ruins, and I was like, I looked at the camera that's not there, and I was like, that's foreshadowing moment right there.
And then they put it in the previously on, like they telegraphed that.
Yeah.
Like, I hate the previously ons for every show. It is what it is. I didn't think big though. I didn't think hex runes. I just thought a room maybe. So
I didn't know when it would show up, but when the battle was happening and she was just throwing out, and then I think it was when Agatha looked at it like, "Girl, what you doing? Where's all that going?" I was like, "Oh, I bet this is where it's going to come into play." Okay. So going back to the line, I think it is a great line. I can't wait to see it being used on artwork, on its International Women's Day. So I think it's going to be a great thing to put on posters of Marvel characters, just a big, strong empowerment statement. And I think it was a badass moment. It'll be up there with Molly Weasley saying, "Not my daughter, you B-word," and Ellen Ripley being like, "Get away from her, you bitch." I think it's a very empowering line. Yep. I love it, and I'm ready to see it on artwork of strong women.
Yeah, I loved it.
Rob, what do you think?
I agree with everything you guys said. I love the line. The big thing, though, for me to take from it is Wanda doesn't totally know who she is. So it's funny that she tells her, "I don't need you to tell me who I am," as if she knows, but she doesn't know. She's I mean, she's the villain. I mean, we don't really touch on it. She doesn't do it on purpose. I know she says like, well, the difference is you did it on purpose, but she's the villain. I don't know if she knows who she is. And I think when she finds out who she is, for who knows how long, we're not going to like it. I don't think she's going to like it.
Ooh, that's interesting. We'll debate that later on.
I know. I figure we're going to get more towards that stuff, but she doesn't know who she is.
I took it more as Wanda's always been so worried about how the world views her, and now she doesn't care anymore. She cares to an extent, because even the shame she has when she puts on her hood when the people of Westview can see her after everything. But I think she's at least coming into her own and realizing who she is and what she can. But you're right. She still is very, very does not know who she is, and that's why she's studying the Darkhold at the end. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't need to bloat the discussion anymore just to hear my own voice. Everything was already said. I mean, especially Markie Mark, thank you, man. That was like spot on. I love the line. I love the power behind that line. I like the fact that it was amazing, and I didn't feel like I got beat over the head with it like I have in some other, let's just call them manufactured moments in Marvel Cinematic Universe. That the line stood on its own. I appreciated it. I understood everything that it meant, and it's going to be one that resonates with fans for a really long time.
I don't need you to tell me who I am leads us right into our next question. I thought there was one more in there. So let's go back then. James, if you could pull up our first picture, please. I don't need you to tell me who I am leads us directly to the Scarlet Witch costume reveal.
Fabulous.
And that costume is amazing.
Yeah.
The colors are perfect. Don't give me Magneto X-Men universe.
Oh my God.
I'm not here for that.
No.
The headpiece is
I think it's Armani.
Oh yeah.
The headdress is there, but not too big. Somebody pointed out that they think her belt and their headdress on the show I was on last night, that I believe it was Chris says that these could be runes on her suit that are protecting her body. I don't know if I'm 100% there, but it's a really good thought. So shout out to Chris or Bill. I can't remember who it was, but credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
But this entire costume is just incredible. And gentlemen, she looks absolutely fantastic in it. And
her hair is spot on.
It's such a great costume, and she's never had a full actual costume. Thank you so much, James. She's never had a full she's had a costume that she wears regularly. This is a superhero costume. Definitely. And it's amazing. I need the Funko. I can't wait to get it.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on to the next question now. Go ahead, Ethan.
No, I liked the comment about #1 Halloween costume in 2021.
Sexy witch.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm hoping she's going to be a meet and greet when Disneyland opens.
I bet you do.
I bet you do.
Show of hands, who's flying to California now?
Okay. Hello.
I like Rob.
Cool men right now. Good Lord.
I kept my hand down. Should have been brighter red, too dark. Sebastian, I don't agree just from the standpoint of the way everything plays on film. A lot of people complained about Captain America's suit in the original Avengers. While it is my favorite Captain America suit of all of them, Mark really dislikes that bright blue. The I thought you didn't like it.
Do you
Okay.
know me?
No. All right. Well, we do like the dark.
Rob, that was smooth.
But
Nice.
a lot of our the costumes do come in just a little bit darker. That's just how it is, especially if they're gonna go ahead.
So Josh Whedon thing.
I was gonna say they didn't go DC dark with it. Like it could have been a lot darker. Bryan, I'm glad. Was that a thing out there? Were people calling it Magneto Witch? Like, was that a thing?
Yes. Yep. Because it's the same shade. Like people just won't give up on the Fox X-Men universe, and Magneto's her father. Like that ain't happening. We met Papa Maximoff. He sells DVDs. Much to Sebastian's chagrin. Go ahead, Rob.
I just think they didn't want to make it cheesy looking. That like a bright red would have been more cheesy. Like we know that's the way they do it in the comics because that's what pops in comics. It's all drawn pictures. But we're not doing that here. They want something that looks powerful, that looks maybe a little dangerous. Like they don't want to give her a cheesy costume. I think that's all it is.
Yeah,
it looked great. I loved everything about it.
You got your bright red in the Halloween costume. That's it.
We did. We saw it. Yep.
Yeah.
As someone who's colorblind, like if it was too red, it would just look like a fire truck, and it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't look good at all. I like the.
I didn't know the colorblind thing. Like this fascinates me.
Oh.
Next week on Marvel Monday, we're just gonna have an interview on the world of colorblindness.
Yes.
There we go.
I mean, I think her costume looked great. I think it'll definitely be a Halloween costume. It'll definitely be a convention costume.
Can I get away with that one?
Mark, I mean, we know you like the color red. You have that room. We found that out last week.
Yeah.
But I think the costume looked great. Do I think it's her final costume? Marvel has a habit where they need to. I feel like every time we see someone on screen, they update a costume. Spider-Man, anyways.
I think this one's gonna stick at least for one film.
Yeah.
I think by the end of Doctor Strange, we're going to see something updated about it. I think by the end of Doctor Strange,
they already added the hood at the end of this one. Like I think this one's in it for the long haul. I hope.
Maybe just a little more eyeshadow when she goes into the dark dimension. That's about it.
Oh, James. Yeah. All right, moving on. All right, next question. Why did Wanda leave Agatha alive? She tells her. She says, "You're gonna need me," and she says, "If I need you, you're here." But when Wanda was taking her magic back, there was purple magic coming with it. I don't think Agatha has any magic left. I think Agatha is simply Agnes, the nosy neighbor. Maybe she's Agnes Boner. Maybe there's a nice love story there that she gets to stay in her house.
Oh, man.
She'd be a bit of a cougar. He's a lot younger than her.
There's a boner in her future.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So I thought this show was for the children. I'm not feeling that.
I'm trying to keep it under control.
Mark, that was a stiff comment there.
Stop it. So does anybody? I mean, we all think we're all happy Catherine Hahn is still alive and is going to come back in the MCU.
Yep.
And I think it definitely plays into the comic accurate of she's going to be a mentor at some point. She was the villain of this series, but a la Loki, like we're going to get her back, hopefully doing some good. So moving on to the next question.
Can I ask a question there before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if Agnes has been stripped from her power and she's the nosy neighbor, in what capacity can she come back? Can she come back in the same way? Is it just she'd come back? And I'm curious about that. It's interesting.
Go ahead, Mark. Looked like you had something.
Well, I mean, she in source material, she plays more than a foil for Wanda. She plays more of a mentor in her development. So I truly think that could be a legitimate role for her moving forward, especially when you couple that with the line where she says, "You have no idea what you've just done." She knows now what is going to happen. So I think that if things start to fall apart for Wanda has someone to go to explain this world at large and I think that she would play that perfect role for her.
She'd have to give her magic back.
Yep.
Like she'd have to basically pull a vision and put her kind of back under so she knows everything. So she's Agatha again and not Agnes.
And I think
she can go back to her.
And I think Kevin Feige is smart enough to realize that one of the breakout hits of this show was Catherine Hahn's Agatha. They know that they have like struck gold in her, that they, who knows beyond Loki, like who knows how much more Tom Hiddleston we have, but they've kind of found that next Loki level character, someone who's evil and beloved at the same time, that I think it's a surety that she's going to come back in some form.
You're putting her on the Loki level? You're
not yet, but
not yet.
We're headed that type of story arc.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had.
No, you're good. Frankie just said in the comments that some people say that Agatha still has her brooch. I'm with you, Frankie. I can't see it. She has it right here, and then she transitions into Agnes, and it disappears. Maybe people just assume she has it because Wanda didn't take it. That's very, very possible. But it's not on Agnes when she says "okie dokie artichoke" and everything like that. Moving on to the next question. This is where I knew we were going to do the costume reveal, so James skipped that for us. So, gentlemen, this is the end of the episode. Before we talk post-credit scene, did Wanda win? No. The Avengers win usually, except for Infinity War, and that was Thanos' story. No. Did Wanda win? No. Let's start with Rob.
Wanda's not a good guy right now.
No.
So you using the word win is very interesting. No, she lost her whole family. Mm-hmm. She's grieving. She's going through terrible things, and on top of it, she has this immense powers that are causing things to happen. So. I don't think anybody won, to be honest. Like, if you had to pick a winner, nobody won.
The people of Westview clearly hate her,
yeah.
And I'm good with that. I'm completely good with that. To call Wanda a full-blown villain, I think she came to her realization. She did what she needed to. She put herself into isolation. I wouldn't call her a villain. She was the bad guy, especially to the people of Westview. But ultimately, she coped, she did what she needed to, and she got her powers under control, at least as far as we know. Go ahead, Markie Mark.
I think I have a hot take, and I'm going to say this. Wow, Mark. Bear with me here. When has Wanda done something heroic? In Age of Ultron, she just saved her fellow citizens of Sokovia. In Endgame, she was just avenging Vision. She didn't look around really and go, I have to save the planet, I have to do all that. It was, Thanos, I'm going to kick your ass. You killed my man. So...
No, it was more than that.
Was it, though? But think about it. Is Wanda, does she even, we saw her in Civil War, trying to fit in with the team, but it wasn't really her style. She didn't really mesh that well. Mm-hmm. Is she really an Avenger? Is she really a hero? Or is she still trying to figure out her story?
Don't applaud that.
Bryan,
I like it, man.
No, listen, he's right, because even at the very end of the episode, she's only learning stuff because she wants to bring these kids back. She wants to bring her family back. She will do whatever it takes. It's selfish. It's selfish motivation. I think that's so the intent. I think you want to attach intent for somebody to be a villain. Intent doesn't actually always come into play. Thanos, in a weird way, had good intent, if we want to really talk about it. He thought he was doing the right thing. Yeah. Wanda thinks she's doing the right thing, but she's causing a lot of trouble.
So is she an Avenger? Clint Barton goes on a wonderful, wonderful speech. If you step out that door, you are an Avenger. She saves Sokovia. You said it yourself. She saved Sokovia because she had the realization that Ultron was trying to take down the world. Civil War, she saves lots and lots and lots of people, including when Rumlow's about to blow himself up. I know that she lifts him into the sky and he explodes and she kills people she did not mean to.
Bryan?
But she's still, she saved Steve Rogers. You're welcome.
Okay.
But
you think he would have given his life for those people in that building, those Wakandans?
there was a lot of people around him too. So there was a lot of people around. She did a heroic act, and she saved Steve Rogers in that moment. She doesn't have control of her powers, but she is acting like a hero.
This is me poking Bryan a little bit right now.
It's working.
Listen, man, I don't hate it. As far as hot takes go, I don't hate it.
Well, and Bryan, you're not wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Right now, though, she's bad things are happening because of what she's doing. So, and it's going to really. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do next. That's what's going to make the difference.
Yep.
So I agree that the people of Westview have every right to hate her. I think Wanda did something absolutely heroic when she did not steal Vision's body from S.W.O.R.D., even though she very well could have. She did not know that it didn't that she didn't know the power that she had. That I will give you. That is my rune. That is my rune. That is Raymond Jacob Holt, painted by Terry Crews.
9-9.
So we're before we go too much into villain or hero, Ethan, Wanda didn't win. Like, right? She lost her family. The people at Westview hate her. The police sirens show up, so then she bails. Wanda didn't win. I think she was heroic. She eventually came to and learned what she needed to, but she's not the hero, but heroes don't torture people. That's what Agatha said. So how did you experience Wanda again not winning? She doesn't ever win.
No, she doesn't win. I don't think that's the case here. But what I do think is that she came to a realization that what she was doing was indeed wrong, and that the hex eventually would have to come down, and that would lead to the destruction of the things that she created around her. And I also think that she knew, probably better than I think was maybe led on in the show, until you see her put on her hood and walk out of Westview. I do think that she knew that she was going to have some sort of backlash, and I don't even know that she received as much as she could have. Like, getting a few dirty looks down when you're walking down the street, I mean, that's like walking down New Jersey or walking down anywhere in Boston.
To Westview, New Jersey.
Yeah, it just happens. It's just one of those things. Like, I didn't take that as a huge loss. Like, I think they could have been a lot meaner. They could have threw a tomato at her, and I would have said, "Oh yeah, well, that's kind of rough." But they didn't even do that.
But she didn't want to hear. She didn't want to hear the pain they were in, and she literally choked them. Like, she didn't mean to, but she did.
No, but did you see she was choking herself too? Did you notice that when she did that? I think that was outwardly, that's how she was feeling, and she didn't realize she was projecting everything she feels onto the town.
Yeah.
And I think that, and that's why it was so powerful. That's why it's so scary. But remember, she's choosing to go into dark magic now, because only dark magic is going to be what can probably, I'm assuming, bring her family back.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Go ahead. We're
almost there.
I'm too excited.
We're almost there. All right, moving on to the next question. What's next for Jimmy Woo? Oh, did I skip you?
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
All right. What's next for Jimmy Woo? Monica says Authority looks good on you. I don't think he's going to be S.W.O.R.D. director, but I
give
think
it to us. I want it.
FBI S.W.O.R.D. liaison, something like that. Jimmy Woo's not going away.
When's he showing up next? When do you think he's showing up next?
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion. I'm sorry. Secret Invasion, not Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Quantum Mania is probably the correct answer. That'll come, that'll come before Secret Invasion. So yeah, Ant-Man 3. That's probably the correct one. Next one. I want to get Ethan's take on this next one. Who is waiting for Monica? Any idea?
No.
All right. Markie Mark. Who's waiting for Monica? Rob's got it.
Yeah.
You both
did the same hand. Look at that. It's Nick Furious. Nicholas J. Fury.
I was about to yell at you. All right.
I know. It's Nick Fury. He's up there. I'm glad we're gonna find out. Hopefully, he found his shoes by now as well. Whoever took his flip flops.
You don't need them in space.
That was such a weird credit scene.
Anyway. I love that credit scene, which takes place like 7 months after this particular credit scene. Think about that.
Good to know. All right. Yeah, I think my question was, how is she going to get up there? Is she going to like Captain Marvel it, fly up there? So I'm excited to,
She can glow like Auntie Carol now. She absolutely can. She's going to be able to fly. She can move at the speed of light. She can fly into space. Yeah. She is a Captain Marvel equal. I think we all agree Nick Fury's waiting up there.
Yeah.
Wait, are there any other theories of who it could be?
Carol is what people think, and there's no way.
She's mad at her.
Well, she's mad at her, but it's more than that. Like they said he.
They said
they did say he. They wouldn't say a friend. They would say your friend is waiting for you. They wouldn't say a friend of your mother's.
Right. I was disappointed that the Skrull that came and talked to her in the theater, I don't think that was the little girl Skrull that she was friends with in Captain Marvel.
It absolutely was not.
Yeah, I wish they would have had like her friend come back to talk to her. I thought that would have been a cute moment.
Yeah, but then everybody gets mad about how small the universe is and why is it always a Skywalker and why can't we just always represent, I've seen people think that it's Talos' daughter, and I'm with you. It absolutely is not. They would have made that very, very clear.
I'm gonna add one thing that I think that movie theater might come into play a little more. I think that movie theater might be some type of access point. So when you're saying like flying to get up there, there's something. Even the titles that were changing on the movie theater, there was a Blade Runner reference or something to that Tannhauser or that. I didn't get totally into it because I didn't want to dive that deep. But I think that movie theater might have something to do with some type of access point. Like it's going to get really cosmic these next couple of things.
That's the first I've heard that one. I don't. Mark, say it for me. I don't
hate it.
All right, there we go. I do like the theater marquee, and we didn't touch on it, but we saw a couple episodes ago in the Halloween Spooktacular, the Incredibles call out. We got two very Incredibles moments. You got the super family ready to battle, and then you got Wanda pulling the Violet of putting the orb around the family to save them from the blast.
It's an Incredibles theme. It was great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. Beekeeper, man, he just doesn't matter. Like I would much rather find out who the witness is than where Agent Franklin, the beekeeper, ended up.
He's in the
okay. Rob, go.
Yes, 100%. She's turning evil. We've been saying it all season that we think she's going to be the principal villain or at least something.
I waved that off in like episode 5. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
But I think she is definitely turning evil. I don't know the level they're going to take it, but I think the same way like Mordo was upset in Doctor Strange when he found out that the Ancient One was going, to the dark side to get power. Wanda is opening that door to the dark dimension. And once you open that door to the dark dimension, we can get any number of ridiculous villains that are going to come out of this. So absolutely, I don't know if she's going to stay evil. I hope that they're going to give her a redemption. I don't know if it's going to be in 2 years. It might not be for 5 years or 6 years, but I absolutely think she's going to have an evil spell for a while.
So for those of you that don't know, Wanda's next appearance is in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, being directed by Sam Raimi, being shot in London right now. It is due out in theaters March 25th of 2022. Mark, from This Diz Life, is Wanda turning evil?
So I think this entire series was really intended to set her up as a much larger personality in the MCU. She's a very complex character. I think that Wanda has a capability to be evil. I don't think she intends to do bad things. I think that when you look at her, the loss that she's experienced in her life, her story, the tragedy that she that has befallen this poor woman time and time and time again. She's trying to do right, but I think that she does not know how to quite get there. She's not a classic hero. She is not Steve Rogers. She wants to do good, but she's coming from a very broken place. And I think that Westview is the perfect example of that. All she wanted was, she just wanted happiness. She never intended to cause pain. She never intended to cause all of those people harm. but because of the emotion, let's just say the emotional baggage that she carries, no matter how she tries to do good, it always manifests itself in the wrong way. Take that and now put the Darkhold in her hands. I think Rob is right that she is going to turn evil, whether she wants to or not. She's doing this, and let's just be clear, she's doing this for good reasons. It's the same thing that just happened. All she wanted was happiness with Vision. And then the byproduct of that was she enslaved hundreds of people in a town, created all of this misery, created all of these problems. She had good intentions, but because she's the Scarlet Witch, it didn't work out. Now she has this infinite power in her hands, and what does it sound like she wants? Her kids back. And so it looks like she's dabbling in forces that she does not understand. She is messing with power that, to take a line from Agatha's past, is probably beyond her station, and it's going to cause issues. I don't think she's intentionally going to turn evil, but just like we got from the disciples of Dormammu in the first film, they were corrupted by the power of the dark dimension. They started as devout believers in good, and they were corrupted. So too, I think Wanda is going to be corrupted by that book, by the power of the dark dimension. And I think it's going to set her up on a trajectory to be, if not the villain, villainous.
Ethan.
I don't want to think that she's turning evil. I think I've got somebody on my side. I'm sort of buying into the conversation here a little bit. Like, okay, I can see that she, is sort of heading down that path and opening this book and learning about it. However, if there's one thing that I think that she can take from that is she's learning, and she's also taking the time to sort of relax and take a deep breath and sort of get away from everything too. So when those two things sort of come hand in hand, I like to think that you not only have the ability to learn something, yes, you can open the door, but I also think that you have the ability to close that door. You have the ability to say, okay, here's that line. I need to become mature enough, and maybe it's not even necessarily a look at maturity. It's more of just a conversation of, okay, how far do I need to take this in order to get the things that I need and want and desire to have that happy life, like we sort of talked about, and continue from there. I don't see her getting bad. I know that she wants her kids, but her kids are something that she loves, and right now, once again, she grieves for them.
But Ethan, what did she learn here? Like, okay, so what did we learn here? What did we learn here? Was there no lesson that was learned by Wanda at the end of all of this? She just saw what that grief can cause.
You didn't have the guts to say Chatan on the show, so you put it in the comment section.
Oh, I'll say it.
I'm just kidding.
I think she's going to get. I don't think she's going to be bad. I agree with what Ethan's saying, but I also then what's aggravating. If I lived in this town, I'd be like, okay, what did we learn here? Don't mess with things that you should not be messing with. And there she is reading the Darkhold. Like, what are you doing? Like, didn't you just learn what is possible if you don't?
But she didn't understand it. Now she's learning it. She's taking the time to learn it.
No.
Yes. Go ahead, Mark.
But here's the thing: if you don't understand something and you utilize it, wouldn't you think that if you go back and you learned how to, it's like installing an IKEA. Like you put it together without looking at the instructions, and you've got no idea what you're doing. But if you go back and you read the instructions, you'll probably put it together a lot better.
Yeah, it's like
a reference in a bright yellow sweater with the blue on it.
It's like taking the apple from the Garden of Eden. She knows that it's dark magic. She can learn not dark magic. She's choosing to learn the dark magic because that's where she has to be. So it's good.
It's all she has available to her. Markie Mark, go ahead.
I think she needs to listen to Meatloaf and say, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. And
wait, she can get guidance. What about she can go to Doctor Strange herself?
She can't right now.
See, no, well, that's just it. She can get guidance if she wanted it. Agatha is there.
True.
If she didn't have to silence Agatha, she knew Agatha was saying some wise things and was like, "Shh, no, I got that. No, I got this." So her at the end there, I'm sorry, her in the cabin, does that look like that doesn't look like a hero on a good path. That looks like
Doctor Strange did the exact same
like
thing.
Doctor
His magic just isn't red.
No,
But Doctor Strange did the
that's not a
exact
good
same
look.
thing.
That's
No,
how I took
Bryan.
it. It looks like
So,
Doctor Strange.
That's not a good look.
Frankie
I
said.
think it's a fantastic look.
Frankie
too.
said she's a
Look at that definition
byproduct.
in her arms.
Yeah, wow, good for her. Frankie, I think, posted she's a byproduct of her
Wow.
environment or
Must
whatever.
work out.
And here's what I'm gonna say: Thor changed. He had been who he was, the most pompous, not heroic person, and oh, look at Thor.
He did
good on you.
change.
Dude, Thor. So he changed. Doctor Strange. I just rewatched it. He was so full of himself. He changed.
Not really. Like, him and Tony Stark hated each other because they were both still very, very proud.
No. Anyways, we'll get to that next week. And Wanda, I will go back to, what has Wanda been since the start? Her parents, the Stark Tech, landed in their living room, and she became a freedom fighter to change the world. Okay, so then she joins Hydra to get her purpose across, what she felt was a heroic, good message. And then Sokovia is under attack, so what she knows is to save those Sokovia citizens. Cap tries his best to get her to, see a new path, see a new light in Civil War, and it just doesn't go that well. And the airport scene, you could tell that wasn't a very natural environment for her. And then I'm going to go back to Endgame. It was all about avenging Vision, and then we come here now to WandaVision. What is she doing? She took over this town. You saw the fear and the heartache in this town folk, and now we're getting her in that Evil Dead, good job, Frankie, Evil Dead cabin down by the river. And I even thought of Thanos when we first see her having that tea. Did anyone else think of Thanos sitting there kind of having a moment? In the garden. And then just when you think, oh, Wanda's got some inner peace there. Nope.
Yep.
We're going to zoom into her I'm waiting for her head to go 360 and be like, meh, swallow your soul. She's
Bryan, I'm connecting with Mark on a whole different level tonight.
She's gonna need a whole lot of loving. Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, is going to need a lot of work.
Well, I think what's going to eventually,
she's going to need Ralph Boner.
I think
he's going to need her. She's going to need him to rise to the occasion. To
Stop
help
it,
her.
Piano Rob. Go.
I also think that they pretty much connect the same characters with similar movies. For the same reason, I think that Monica's going to go see Nick Fury is because Nick Fury is part of the Captain Marvel movies. Obviously, I think Vision and Wanda are going to continue to meet up. So I think that this White Vision is going to eventually probably have something to do with why she sees the light and eventually comes back. But we're going to go through a whole mess of crap before then.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Bryan's not happy.
Wanda,
do we need a refill on drinks before this?
Wanda opening the multiverse will not. No, please don't put me full screen. I need to see the reactions.
Okay.
Thank you. Wanda opening the multiverse will not be the reason she is the villain. Just because Wanda opens the multiverse does not make her the villain. Can we agree with that statement?
Yes. Agreed.
Okay. We did not just spend 5 hours of Wanda coming to a realization of who she is and who she can be in order to undermine all 5 hours within 6.5 seconds. It's just not what they're going to do. It is very much WandaVision to end this show on grand speculation that I don't think we're going to get anything quite to that extent. I do not personally believe that her looking through the multiverse for her children is an outright horrible thing.
It's not.
Mark, I am surprised that you did not bring up the score that played underneath of Wanda in this particular scene. Did you catch that? It's a slower, darker tone of the Doctor Strange theme.
From Michael Giacchino, a amazing composer. Check him out for his Star Trek scores.
He also wrote the Marvel fanfare.
And Up. He did the Up theme.
Yep. Check him out. He also is on, for all you Disney fans out there, 4 Scores. He has an episode on there. I love his music. I am rather upset that he will not be part of Doctor Strange 2. Danny Elfman is coming in for that. But anyways, yes, I did catch that theme and I giggled. And Doctor Strange is high up there as far as my Marvel soundtracks go.
Wanda has never met Stephen Strange. They reference the Sorcerer Supreme. Now, that is Doctor Strange that they're talking about. I mean, at this point, Doctor Strange is just the master of the mystic arts. He's not the Sorcerer Supreme. Until we get to Multiverse of Madness, he probably will be the Sorcerer Supreme. It doesn't really matter. But she's never met him. She doesn't know, A, to seek out his knowledge, or B, even exactly who he is. I'm sure she knows of him. She knows all that kind of stuff. She is studying the one book that she has available to her, and we know that this book does have infinite knowledge. The MCU takes the comic books for inspiration, but they don't hold to it. This is not going to be the definition of the Darkhold by whoever reads the pages becomes evil and taken by it. I think Wanda being able to go in and accidentally, now you can say everything we do, everything revolves around Wanda doing something accidentally. And I think that would be a fair criticism if she, quote unquote, accidentally opens up the multiverse. But I don't think that makes her a villain. And I think that is I think that is going to be her main role. I don't think we are going to get a standoff between Doctor Strange and Wanda Maximoff.
I don't think she's a villain yet, but she's not a hero.
Brian, I'm surprised you said that. Because I think Catherine Hahn, with Agatha saying that you're more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, I think that line was deliberate to set up of why she's a match for Doctor Strange and why the power is going to be it. I'm sorry.
That was good, Frankie.
Can you pull that back up from Frankie? That was good. I think if people didn't catch it, it's the perfect opportunity for Marvel and Pizza Hut to team up for marketing the Sorcerer Supreme. So, gentlemen, we've gone on for an hour and 47 minutes. I cannot wait for 55 weeks from now when we can do a Marvel Monday on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness to see who was right. If I'm sending my $10 back from Professor X not showing up in this show back on over to the Diz Life Mark, we all have our own personal opinions. In a simple word, in closing, Ethan, what did you think of WandaVision? Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah.
They weren't that high for you going in, I don't think. So that.
No, well, you said a word. I wasn't going to go too far.
No, go ahead. Finishing up, summarizing.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it did. I enjoyed it very much. One thing we didn't really talk about in this episode that I found really great and really sort of summarized the story for me is when Wanda and Vision are in their home talking and they say, we've had to say goodbye before. Chances are we'll say hello again. I found that really just beautiful writing. Really, once again, the tugging at the heartstrings, and just simply, I found it really interesting that Vision, in all of his angst of leaving, was able to find a way to say to her, "I'm still here, not necessarily in human form, not necessarily in wires and bones and blood, but I'm always going to be with you." And I think for me, that to me just says I really enjoyed this, and I don't think that Wanda is going to be an enemy. And I agree with what Markie Mark said. She's not a villain, but she's not a hero. She's somewhere sort of in between. But I do think that she comes out on the right end of this.
Awesome. All right. One actually from the Screen Actors from the Directors Guild today, Matt Shackman was nominated for Best Director in a Limited Series. That officially caps this as a limited series. Season 2 absolutely will not be happening. And this episode was entitled the series finale. Markie Mark, did WandaVision meet your expectations?
It did. I don't know why I'm hesitating there, but going back to some lines that ended the show, I love the moment where Vision says something like, "We've said goodbye before, so it's not like unfair of us to deduce that we'll see each other again." I loved that line. The sappy romantic in me loved that line. Did I love the show? As a fan of I Love Lucy, one of my top 5 favorite shows of all time, I loved the earlier episodes. I loved how they filmed that. It was unlike anything that's out there right now. It wasn't like anything Marvel has done before. So bravo to Marvel for taking a huge chance in not only changing the cinematic world, but also going, hey, we're going to, like, even Kevin was like, hey, we're nervous, but we're going to take a chance and we're going to shoot big and hope we make it. And they did. They knocked out at a park. I think it has a rewatchability that people will go back and watch it and enjoy it and will find new things each time they watch it. I think once people it's kind of like Pixar. Unfortunately, Pixar is a victim of its own success and everyone has high expectations for Pixar. Same for Marvel. I think people set unrealistic expectations, and once they kind of let go of that and watch it just for something to entertain them, like, are you not entertained? I think if you answer that about this movie or this show, you'll go, yes, I was entertained. And I think once we have the bigger picture of Doctor Strange, I think you'll enjoy it even more. Just like Mark now can go back and watch Ultron and enjoy it more, I can go back and watch Infinity War and not wonder about how are they so in love already. Now I have a better understanding about how Wanda and Vision are truly in love. That Avengers compound scene, I could watch that scene. Like I said, it's a top 3 moment, just like Vision having a philosophical conversation with himself. Yeah. So I think the show will only get better over time, which is what the great shows do.
Rob, how about you?
I agree. I think everything you said right there, Mark, was spot on. It gave us more character development, and it set up the future. I go into these shows actually with not much expectations, even though I have a strong opinion. But I only have an opinion because I like that, because I love them. I love them. I know it's setting it up, and so not at all did it disappoint me. I thought it was a wonderful show.
Something that I kind of want to put out there is we just watched a 5-hour Captain America: The First Avenger, or Thor 1. Everybody put Avengers Endgame level expectations on this with the Fantastic Four, with the X-Men, with all that kind of stuff. We watched a longer movie, but it's going to play a role, but it's not going to play a pivotal MCU changing role that everybody had put on it in the middle of the series. Diz Life Mark, before I wrap us up, what did you think?
So oddly enough, I came in with lower expectations of the projects, the Marvel projects. This one was the lowest on my the list of expectations that I had for it, and I was delighted by it. It was different. It was unique. There's never been anything like it. I loved how meta the show was. I loved all the references. I loved all the Easter eggs. I loved kind of getting taken down the rabbit hole, even though I chased the rabbit down the wrong hole numerous times, and I was so wrong. It was a water cooler show. I'm going to be grateful for that. I'm hoping that Captain America. Well, he's Captain America. Falcon and the Winter Soldier has that same effect, that we all get together on a weekly basis and have that wow moment like we did with this show. But I am very excited for what the MCU holds, because if this was I know it wasn't intended to be the first thing, but if this is the first thing that we got and it was this good, then sky is the limit.
I had set very high expectations for this show. What expectations did it not meet for me coming in? I really thought that we were going to get sitcom cameos. I really thought that Dick Van Dyke was going to show up at some point. I thought maybe Steve Urkel was going to make an appearance. I thought the Olsen twins could show up. We didn't get any of that. They very much self-contained this entire show within Westview and the side characters that they had built there. I would have enjoyed a little bit more from a few more of the side characters. I think especially Herb, John Collins. I think he was a brilliant actor. I think he would have done a great job. That being said, I've said it a million times. I love the show. I watched all 9 episodes again on Saturday. I loved how it all came together. I love it so much. But we're going to get finished up. Marvel Monday, Marvel movie March Madness. I can't remember how Ethan said it earlier. We're going to do that next week. I'm going to not insert my own personal opinions into the rankings. I'm simply going to rank them 1 to 24 based upon their IMDb rankings. So my particular opinion won't be influencing the entire bracket. Gentlemen, we got 4 new posters. James, if you could bring up our last little bit of information. We got 4 new posters for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier today. We've told you before, if you want to get ready for Falcon and Winter Soldier, please watch Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Avengers Infinity War. And that will get you ready for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which begins next Friday, March 19th. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Rob.
We will see you next Monday night.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, man. I've been watching the show from afar. I kept like, I got to get on the show.
Yes. And you are invited at any point you want to come back. So, gentlemen, Excelsior for the children.
For the children.
For the children.